Hey guys, the Premise crew and the Chaos crew from Zombies went live today in Blackout. They unlocked them, you can equip them and use them in game. Having them unlocked in game allowed me to go in and use the tools that I have to look at them in a really close way where I can see some pretty high detail and show you guys some stuff that you normally would never be able to see. For example, this character here, he's got a bunch of tattoos on his arms, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what they say and what they translate to. They're really interesting, and then some of them are wearing pendants around their necks. I'll show you guys what those look like up close, and then I'll show you guys a side-by-side comparison of what Richtofen BO3 looks like compared to the BO4 that's in Blackout. First, let's have a look at Bruno Delacro. He is from the French Foreign Legion. He's got a French accent, and he's a pretty big guy, and he's known for having a pretty violent past. His outfit has a lot of belts and satchels, and the only really interesting thing that he's wearing is a medal around his neck. He doesn't have any tattoos or anything like that, but I'll show you guys a close-up of this medal. On the right is an actual image of the medal, and it says in French, Expedition Republic France 1892. This medal represents an 1892 expedition where France went and took over the Kingdom of Dahomey. And then this commemorative medal right here was awarded to officers, sailors, and soldiers who took part in this campaign. And we already know that Bruno was a part of the French Foreign Legion, and during that time, he must have taken part in this expedition. The next character is Diego Mccauley, and his outfit doesn't have a lot of wording or anything on it. He doesn't have any tattoos. He does have a pretty big belt buckle, and I'll show you guys what that says in just a moment. So Diego Mccauley, I believe, is Spanish. He does have a Spanish accent, and every time I hear him speak, I just picture Puss in Boots. He sounds just like him. And on his left hand, he is wearing a ring, and that ring is the same model of Nero from Shadows of Evil. And since the Chaos story and Ether story do not connect, this is just a reused model. Now to get a close-up on his giant belt buckle, the one on the left is the in-game image, the one on the right is the actual graphic, and it says Mccauley on it. Obviously that's his last name, and that's probably his family crest. The next character is Scarlett, and she has no tattoos. She doesn't have any writing on her anywhere. She does have some green goggles on her left thigh. That's probably the same model from Tokyo. She does have a pendant around her neck, but it doesn't say anything, and there's really not any kind of design that I can really pick up on. It's just too small. The last Chaos character is Stanton Shaw, and he has got a lot going on his model. He's got a lot of tattoos on his arms. I'll show you guys all about what those say and what they translate to. He's wearing a few pendants around his neck. I'll show you guys close up what those say. But this guy is supposedly a chemist, and he's gotten into some chemicals that might have altered his state of mind a little bit, and the tattoos on his arms definitely reflect that. He's definitely the most colorful and interesting character just based on his model, and it looks like he's kind of replacing Richtofen in this game. Right here on his left arm, you can see some Latin that's written right there, and I'll show you guys what all of this says. So he has a Latin phrase on his left arm. I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce it or read it, but it translates into the Father of all perfection and the whole world is here. This phrase comes from what's called the Emerald Tablet. This tablet had some really cryptic and archaic alchemy on it that was written between the 6th and 8th century. And this alchemy that was on this tablet supposedly contained the secret of how to make or create the prima materia. And this prima materia was the starting material that was needed to create what's called the Philosopher Stone. This mysterious Philosopher Stone has been used in books and movies. For example, Harry Potter. I know you guys have heard about that. This Philosopher Stone had two basic purposes. One of them was to turn base metals such as mercury into gold, and the other was to create an elixir of life. And it was used for rejuvenation and for achieving immortality. And for many centuries, this was the main goal in alchemy. Also, you can see some chemical structures on his arm. I was able to identify most of them, and the first one here is sulfur mustard. Sulfur mustard is commonly known as mustard gas, and it is a chemical warfare agent, and it's known to cause large blisters on exposed skin and in the lungs. He does have some vials on his belt that it could be referencing, and also in one of the trailers on Titanic, he's throwing some kind of bomb that looks like it could be mustard gas. The next one is ethylene glycol, and this one has two main purposes, and one is to be used as a raw material in the manufacture of polyester fibers, and the other is for antifreeze formulations. Ethylene glycol is an odorless, colorless, sweet tasting liquid. It is highly toxic, so this could be another indication of some of the stuff that he's wearing on his belt. There are a few other symbols here on this arm that are probably related to chemistry and alchemy. I didn't look into them. I'd have already spent way too much time researching this stuff. So that was his left arm. This is his right arm, and you can see a formula right here. This means sodium cyanide. Sodium cyanide is an extremely poisonous compound, and when treated with acid, it forms the toxic gas hydrogen cyanide. It does have other applications, and one of the main applications is for gold mining. This next one is tetrachlorodibenzodioxin. It's also called TCDD and became known as a contaminant in Agent Orange, an herbicide used in the Vietnam War. This chemical was used by the US military as a part of the herbal warfare program. It destroyed the plant-based ecosystem, and up to 4 million people in Vietnam were exposed to it, and over 3 million suffered illnesses because of Agent Orange. So what's Shaw doing with this tattoo of that on his arm? There's another structure to the right that I absolutely cannot identify. I really tried, but so far nothing. Also around his neck, he's wearing some pendants and some vials, and he is wearing a clock, I believe, around his neck, but it's inside of his vest, and that clock says 12:50. To the right of the clock, I believe, is a Freemason emblem or pendant. It definitely has the same structure, and then it's got those lines going out from around it. So yeah, it could be Illuminati or something like that. And the pendant on the top left looks like it's maybe alchemy or something like that. I couldn't really find anything with it. If you guys know, definitely comment down below. And last but not least, let's have a look at Richtofen in Black Ops 4 here in Blackout, and I'll compare him to the Black Ops 3 version of him. So on the left is Richtofen, Black Ops 3, standing in Gorod Krovi. And then the one on the right is Richtofen in Black Ops 4 Blackout. There's definitely a difference in color and texture, but keep in mind that Beanox is the one that is helping to design Blackout, and Beanox is the one that created Last Gen Richtofen. On the left, you can see, yeah, Gorod Krovi, Richtofen. You can see Treyarch's style of level design. It's beautiful. The colors look really nice. It almost looks realistic, but then you look at the Blackout Richtofen and he almost looks cartoony. His face is really washed out. He's got pink skin like a baby, and it just doesn't look right. And again, this is just a Blackout. He's probably gonna look really, really good in Blood of the Dead, because Blood of the Dead is being created by Treyarch and their studios, and I don't think Beanox is gonna be touching it at all. Some people may say, oh, it's just the beta and this is why it looks like this. And I say, no, this is the style of Beanox. This is what their graphics look like. I don't think it's gonna be changing when it comes out for release in October. With Richtofen being so washed out and the coloring being off in Blackout, you can see how the entire map is kind of like that. A lot of people won't notice it, but I notice it, and I was really hoping for the graphics to look more like what they do on the left right here, but I'm pretty sure Beanox has a pretty big hand in designing this map, so that's why it looks like that. And if Treyarch was doing it completely in their studio with no help from Beanox or Raven, yeah, it would look like what you see on the left, a little bit more realistic, and the coloring would be a lot better. I hate to be so harsh against Beanox, but I feel like their graphics are just a generic version of Treyarch's. You don't even want to see the side-by-side comparison of Transit. It is a disaster. Luckily, most people won't even notice these differences unless you do a side-by-side comparison, and I'm not worried about zombies whatsoever. Treyarch has got their hands on that mode completely, and it's gonna look beautiful like you see here on the left in Gorod Krovi. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next video.